From the shores of Malibu where the waves are pumping, to the Great Wall of China and back to the streets of Las Vegas where the UFC is happening. We are live. This is It's Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about but may be afraid to voice. Do not worry, we will voice it for you. We talk about it all and it's time. No holds barred radio, folks. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, COVID, politics, film, TV, UFC, you name it. We talk about it. I'm here with my co-host, TJ DeSantis. TJ, how are you?
I'm good, Buff. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. We've got the Maverick, Michael Chiesa, on later. He's actually in a jiu-jitsu session, so we'll have a sweaty Michael Chiesa on as soon as he's done.
Is that good or bad? I don't know if that makes ratings go up or down.
I don't know, but if it helps him in his next battle with Vincent Luque, I think it's the best thing he can do, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Wait, they're fighting again?
No, I just think personally Michael is on his way.
Well, hang on. Wait a second. I just want to say that I'd be all for that rematch.
I'd be all for that rematch. And, he's such a cerebral fighter. You know how he's termed some fighters cerebral.
Yeah.
But we'll get into his head on the show about it. But I think he commented too that, so much of this game is mental.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And he realized whatever the mental issue was, if there was one at that point, and we'll ask him about it when he's on the show, what he meant by that, because better to hear it from the horse's mouth or the fighter's mouth than anybody else.
Right. What did Yogi Bear say about baseball? Like half of baseball is 90% mental. It's like, wait, what? What did you just say? But it's true. Like, true. I think Yogi sort of misspoke, but that's sort of actually telling when you think about it, because everything is mental as it is physical when it's that highest of highs, which is why I don't necessarily argue with you all the time when you say that poker is a sport, because you have to mentally be so on to make sure that you're performing your best. But at the same time, like going back to that Yogi quote, it's like if you are not mentally prepared, you're going to start to think that half of something can be 90% of something, because that's how twisted your brain can get.
Exactly. But, when you talk baseball, you talk statistics. And if you want to keep track of the statistics, you got to be mental. So yeah. I think there is a lot of mental in baseball.
And also, too, we'll bring this up with Michael, but, like, do you remember that great fight between Czech Congo and Pat Barry? It was, like, just a crazy... Right. Like, Vicente Luque and Michael Chiesa had that same fight, but it was with submissions. Like, honestly, like, it's not as thrilling as Congo and Barry because it was a knockout, and, everyone loves the knockout. But if you're a submission fan, Chiesa and Luque was everything that Congo and Barry was.
Interesting comparison, and absolutely true, right? Striker to submission, you name it. Because let's face it, submission game to a lot of people that don't understand or realize a submission game can be a little boring at times. That was one of the issue with the UFC in the early days. I think it culminated in a UFC 33, which was a huge show at Mandalay Bay. We were back on pay-per-view. I had everybody there I could get there, from the owner of United Talent Agency, you name it. And every fight went to the ground, and every fight was, to us, not boring.
Okay? No.
But to the other people watching.
Right.
And I remember the head of United Talent Agency, and here this is before WME many years later bought it for the highest price ever paid for a franchise. Right. Which is the number 2 or number 1 big agency besides UTA. And the owner said to me, Buff, and this is one of my best friends from high school, Buff, I just don't see it. It was just boring.
Can you see us now?
Yeah, can you see us now? Exactly. That's exactly the way to put it. So we'll get Chiesa on and we'll talk about that. There's a number of stories in the news I want to go over. Obviously, there's some very serious things happening around the world right now. I'm going to go into COVID here for a second. I just got back from Houston, Texas. Met the governor there. He just tested positive for COVID, TJ. The governor of Texas.
Wow.
And I think the governor of Florida, didn't he get it too? And pardon me if I'm wrong, or maybe he did not.
Cousin Ron?
No, he did not.
I don't think he got it.
Here's the man.
I'll have to call my aunt and figure it out.
Here's a man's mandating. Okay, now again, it's all about choice, and I understand that. But you know what, folks? If we don't get vaccinated, we're going to be going through this for many, many more years.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to get a booster now, it sounds like.
It's guaranteed. It's going to come out. Our CDC already said it, I think, yesterday.
Yep.
8 months after your vaccine, you got to get boosted. I'm already scheduled for November.
Well, did you hear about Saul Solis?
No, what?
Saul Solis passed away.
Really?
From COVID. Do you remember Saul? He was a coach of Tito Ortiz.
That's like John McCarthy put a tweet out about it.
Right. Based in Houston. Really, really sad situation. I've taken a flight with Saul in the past, and always a very nice guy, super accommodating to people like me that are always asking annoying questions, whether you win or lose. We're always trying to get that interview. And yeah, Saul, just 55 years old. That one, I wasn't close with Saul. I'm not trying to say that this rattled me on a personal level because we were buddies. But when you know someone and you open up the internet and find out they passed away from COVID and they're only 55 years old, Bruce, that makes you think.
Well, I'll tell you what makes it think, especially at 64, which I am.
Okay?
Right. And again, my condolences go out to Saul Solis's family and loved ones. It's horrible, but there's a lot of horrible things happening. Again, the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, you said don't wear masks. You said open up. Now you've got COVID. I don't wish it on you, but you reap what you sow. Okay.
I mean, even if you're going to open, I don't care if you open, but why would you discourage? But why would you discourage a mask? That's what I'm saying. Like if you feel like you're the governor, you have that call. You can say, look, I don't even want to have a mask mandate. That's fine, but don't tell people straight up to not wear a mask. That doesn't make sense to me.
This is a country of freedom of choice unless mandated. And if it's
right,
mandated, you got to follow it.
That's what I'm saying. Either way, Bruce, if you are anti-mask, that's great for you. But why would you want to push that narrative on anybody else? You don't need to draw a line in the sand necessarily.
Absolutely agreed. Getting back more with Texas, the big thing about the COVID virus right now, the Delta variant and everything else, the Delta variant, period, is now getting into children. We're hearing about children dying.
Younger and younger. It's terrifying.
A Mississippi 8th grader died a day after his positive coronavirus test. Now, granted, was he compromised or not? The person, we don't know.
It doesn't matter, Bruce. Kids are dying now. What?
Kids are dying. Remember, they didn't get it before.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember a lot of people that because COVID, when it goes through a household, everybody gets it. It's very rare. I've only heard a handful of cases where one parent got it and the rest of the house didn't. And a buddy of mine, he went to the ICU, was almost put on a ventilator, came out the other side and was fine. He got it. His wife got it. Their 3 kids got it. Now, again, he went to the ICU and almost died. His wife had a really bad headache. And all 3 of their kids tested positive, but showed absolutely no signs. Wow. That's not the case anymore.
No, it's not the case. And my boys are going back to school. Henry went back to school yesterday. Just got to hope for the best. I went to CVS and I bought 8 rapid test kits. You can buy rapid test kits now to take it home.
Yep.
Granted, 75%, 84% positive or whatever the term is.
Effective?
Or accurate.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But the reason I bought so many is because I'm having dinner with my mother tomorrow.
Right. So take 2.
I was social this weekend.
Right. Okay. Take 2 or 3 of those things. Make sure you get, that's multiple opinions at that point.
I'm testing every day before I go to see my mom.
Yeah.
$23. I can afford $23 a kit. Right. I'm testing every day I go see my mom. I've got to have that peace of mind.
Right.
Because now what's happening with the variant, with the Delta variant, is and again, call me paranoid, call me whatever. You know what? I know somebody that's a CrossFit athlete, 40 years old, epitome of shape, vaccinated, in the hospital.
Yep.
I don't want to go in the hospital. I don't care about, you won't get sick, you won't, whatever. You know what? It's case by case basis. Granted, I'm in what most people consider great shape and I'm very healthy.
I don't know if that matters.
It doesn't. There's no guarantee.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, Bruce. I think that again, we don't know anything. And I'm sitting here bro-sciencing or hypothesizing, whatever you want to call it. But in my opinion, I have no proof to this, so I'm just talking out my ass, so take it for what it's worth. But I still feel like there are genetic variables here that we don't understand. That is how it is determined that we are affected by this virus. When I had my son, we had to do some genetic testing because both my wife and I are of pretty Scandinavian descent, and cystic fibrosis is very common in people with Scandinavian backgrounds, and we wanted to make sure that our child was not going to be affected by that if we carried that variant in our DNA. And that's the other thing. Like, I'm curious if COVID affects people with certain ethnic backgrounds differently. Because, again, like I said, if you're of Scandinavian descent, you have to worry about cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a lung ailment. So I don't know. I mean, we'll find out, I guess, as we, get deeper and deeper into this pandemic. We are always finding out more. But Bruce, like, every week we come on the show and there are new things that are more and more terrifying.
I thought we were knee deep. Now we're up to our neck. The bottom line is that, listen, I don't want to close down. I want the economy to survive. I want the economy to thrive.
Right.
Right now, Texas alone had to request 5 mortuary trailers. They don't have room in the mortuaries. They had to order 5 mortuary trailers to house the friggin' bodies of the people that are dying from this damn thing.
See, this is what's a little bit scary, Bruce. Like, think about where we
were.
A
Holocaust, TJ.
I don't like that comparison because
that's purposeful. Pardon me. Scratch that saying.
Right. But what I would say is
very emotional about it.
And I get it. I mean, Bruce, like, that's the thing. I think that we've come out the other side of this to a certain extent to where we feel like we've been relieved of some of that stir-crazy cabin fever that we've had. But here's the problem. We live in Southern California where it's perpetually summer. Like, honestly, like, growing up in the Midwest, like, it's always nice here. But there are people in cold climates that are heading into fall and are finding out that we are one step closer to going back to where we were in March of 2020. I don't know if we'll go that far. I don't know if we have to go that far. But this is what I'm saying. When you turn on the news, Bruce, it feels like the news stories are every bit as bad, if not worse, than when we started this thing and locked everything down.
Absolutely.
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. I think we're so used to it. We're guinea pigs on a daily basis, learning what the hell's going on. I'm going to tell you something. I was in a special class last week. I got no harm saying it. I'm getting a concealed weapons permit, so I can carry a gun.
You've been trying to do this for forever, honestly.
Finally got it through. Thank you, Sheriff Villanueva, for believing in me.
Right.
It's only handed out about 1,100 of them. Very few celebrities.
You're more than qualified. We've talked about this in the past. Like, you're familiar with guns.
People have paid thousands of dollars to have this, and it's not for any other reason than what's needed. Anyway, when I was in there, the other 4 people I were with, you know who they were? Firemen.
Who?
Right?
Firemen.
The other 4 people in the class that I was in, I had to go to a combat range, qualify and all this, and I qualified with firemen. So one of the firemen told me, who's head up, he said, up there, they had a big meeting. Okay. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. He said, prepare in September. He said, start getting your toilet paper and everything, because the word is we're going to go through a major lockdown September 1st. Who knows? I hope not. Okay. I don't want to see any more lockdown. I want to see people just be responsible.
Right.
And do what they need to do. So I think we've COVIDed it up enough. People are aware out there. If you're not vaccinated, I know it's your choice. But the amount of people I personally know through 6 degrees of separation, and I personally know that are not vaccinated and are vaccinated, are getting the damn virus.
Yeah.
Especially the my non-vax friend, typical of all of us, we had these conversations. Oh, no, and this and that. He's been home for 3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Wishing he got vaccinated. Wishing he was vaccinated right now.
And that's the thing that I think people fail to realize is the ailment doesn't stop with just being infected. Like, when you have COVID, it sucks, obviously. But when you
I don't want the after effects.
Right. When you test negative, a lot of people are still pretty sick, regardless of being, actually positive at that time.
We've talked about MMA fighters, a couple of which we won't mention names. They can't even do cardio, and it's 6 months later in their career.
I mean, I know a guy it's been over a year since he had COVID, and he can't run. He was a triathlete before.
Enough said. I got lungs. This is my job.
Yeah.
This is my tool.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I want to keep it. All right, let's go to something even more horrible. This whole thing in Afghanistan. These harrowing pictures of Afghans clinging to U.S. cargo jets in a desperate bid to escape the Taliban circulate. I mean, it's crazy. And, I pledge allegiance to my president. I think Biden's doing a great job. But, here it's not just Biden. It was Trump. It was Bush. I mean, this whole Afghanistan thing that has gone on forever. we've withdrew all the past work. All the people that have died have gone to naught. And I'll say it again, as I've said before, it is just impossible to fight religious wars. It really, really is.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to do what we can do, but it's really impossible.
This is the issue with me, Bruce. Like you said, like we did all that work, and now it's for naught. And I fully supported, the effort in Afghanistan when it started. I mean, it was essentially vengeance and payback for 9/11. We were searching for Osama bin Laden. And now to understand, bin Laden's been gone now for 10 years, I think. I think it's 2011.
Oh, the man that shot him was on our show.
Yeah, but I mean, like that happened 10 years ago.
Yep.
And it wasn't in Afghanistan. I guess, for me, either you're going to have to be there forever in this effort, or you should have stopped a long time ago. And I don't know what the answer is. But pulling out and then seeing this country essentially go back to square one before we're even gone, really, it's mind-boggling to me. I don't understand what the whole thing was about. I guess in the end, now that we're 20 years removed away from when we showed up.
It's so archaic, when you really think about it, because the Taliban, they've been in charge of Kabul now for, I think it was 48 hours yesterday. So let's say they've been in charge for almost 3 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Women have disappeared from the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, they're killing women over there.
It's an incredibly oppressive culture.
If you're not even wearing a burqa, you can die.
Right. I mean, it's religious law. I don't know. It's hard as an American to ever fathom that, because while we're a very religious country, for the most part, if you're not a religious person, it's not forced upon you. And if it is, you can just walk away. You know what I mean? Like Jehovah's Witness or anybody shows up at your door, you just tell them to leave and it's over. But that's not what it's like in other places in this world. And I think, and I'm not putting down religion by any means. I'm not, if you're religious, by all means, that's you. Pursue your life that makes you happy and fulfilled. God bless you. Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is the idea of having to be subjected to things that are fines, penalty, death, because you're not following a religious way of life to the T, by the way. You can't just be sort of religious over there. You have to be 100% on point. It's the law. It's a hard thing to understand.
What's more archaic than being stoned to death?
I mean,
what is more archaic than that?
There's nothing. Honestly, there's nothing more archaic than that. That is the definition of archaic.
All right, well, let's continue on with all the good news we're talking about. I want to get back to a stupid is a stupid does story, which goes back to COVID. If you're going to steal, which I don't condone, but there's a saying, if you're going to steal, steal big. Okay.
Go big or go home, right?
Yeah, right. A licensed pharmacist was arrested in Chicago on Tuesday, right?
Okay.
Selling dozens of authentic COVID-19 vaccination cards on eBay, right?
Wait. Selling them?
Selling authentic COVID-19 vaccination cards on eBay.
So you can falsify your vaccination report.
His name is Tang Zhao. Sounds Chinese. Not that there's any correlation. Allegedly sold 125 COVID-19 vaccination cards from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to 11 different buyers for $10 a card. $1,250. He's arrested on 12 counts of theft of government property.
Okay, so his career is over.
It's over.
Yeah,
and rightfully so.
Why would you do that? I don't understand.
His biggest sale was $176.70 April 2nd to a buyer who paid for 17 cards.
Pharmacists make good money.
Well,
I don't understand what to me there has to be more to this. This person has to be anti-vaccination or something. Why would you take that risk? Because I mean, unless he's got something going on to where he's massively in debt and need to come up we don't know the whole story, but from the outside looking in, it's very confusing why he would take that risk.
Yeah, I agree. And there's scams all over the place when it comes to COVID, because immediately the scam artists are going to come out. He's out on $4,500 bail. If convicted, he'll go to jail for 10 years. And back in July, the stupid is stupid does, a licensed naturopathic doctor.
What does that mean?
Maybe holistic.
Right. Okay. I didn't know those people got licensed per se.
Well, he was selling immunization pellets to patients under the guise that they would create COVID-19 antibodies.
Okay. So what were the pellets? That's what's scary to me. Because
yeah. And he instructed he instructed them how to fill out the CDC vaccine card to make it look like they'd received the Moderna vaccine. I mean, come on.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You can't falsify anything. Like, what are you doing?
Dumb. Okay, let's move on to some more good news. This is kind of like a Rolling Stone. Okay. I have to say it that way because of the subject matter. You are not, if you've done something in the past, if this doesn't prove they can come up and catch you at a later point in life, such as some 56 years later, a lawsuit alleges that Bob Dylan, the singer, sexually abused a 12-year-old boy in 1965. This is 2021. Now, granted, if something happened back then, you pay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He supposedly, this is coming across now. So now a guy who's had a glorious career, right? I don't know how old Bob Dylan is now. The woman is now 68 years old, right? Claiming that she was 12. I thought it said a boy, but it says a woman. Oh yeah, it's a woman.
Okay.
Gave her drugs and this, that, and the other, kind of the typical stuff we read about. But all of a sudden now, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't do it. I mean, if, whatever happened, but 56 years later.
Yeah, but I think that's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant.
When you hear about trauma in victims like this, alleged victims, it takes a lot of time to come out. But like, here's the problem. It's incredibly hard to really do much about this, right? Because I don't know what the statute of limitations are. I don't know where this event took place. I don't know how you go ahead and prove those things. I mean, like for example, you said 1968. 1965. Okay, so to put this into perspective for people that don't understand, my dad was 5 years old when that happened. He's dead now. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a really, really long time. That's you can't go back and necessarily point to witnesses or even come with facts that are undeniable. You know what I mean?
He said, she said.
Right. In a lot of those things are he said, she said, even in the modern day. But when you are talking about what 60 years later, 58, what did you say? How many years later?
56, if my math was correct.
Okay, yeah. So like we're talking 60 years later, like no one remembers what day was what then. I don't know. It's incredibly difficult to do much with this. I think it needs to be taken seriously. I think there needs to probably be an investigation. Okay. But I don't know what you can really do with that information in the modern day to really prove much.
As these things usually take place, I'm not saying it's going to be the case, but
right.
Obviously Bob Dylan has a tremendous amount of money, I would assume, and there's going to be a payday here, and it's not going to go to trial, and you won't hear about it again.
Well, and if we've learned anything from situations like this is, if there is some truth to this, probably not the only time something like this happened.
Yeah,
we'll see if
all of a sudden you got the people coming out of the
right.
woodwork. And
it's very, very difficult. It's honestly like a story that I don't really want to talk much about because there's so many moving parts here that it's a wait and see sort of thing. And I don't know. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's won a Nobel Prize, for right. Writing music and things like that. And it's very difficult to sort of foresee what will happen here. But yeah, I guess just keep your eyes peeled for the story as it develops.
I agree. I'm telling Michael when he's ready to come on. I know he's getting out of training right now.
Yeah, he will. He'll just pop on here, so we'll roll until he gets on.
Okay, so now let's go past that again onto some other stuff.
Man, you got some stories today, Buff.
I'm not laughing. I'm just sorry. I wish I had the good news, but this is the world in which we live sometimes. One last thing. Fewer people are going to Home Depot. And you know what that tells a lot of experts? It could be a bad sign for the housing market, which has done nothing but go up. My home's gone up 20% in the last 4 months.
Right.
But what goes up must come down, always recorrects itself and goes up again. But this is a sign, the housing market, this bubble, this is a sign there could be an issue here. That's how people look at it. And they're judging it on the fact that fewer people are going to Home Depot, which has nothing to do with COVID. You go to Home Depot because you need necessities.
Well, I mean, honestly, with COVID and people staying home, you would think that Home Depot might even go up in sales because people are forced to live in their homes a lot more than they might normally be. So I don't know.
You would think so.
Yeah.
And then on a little sports news, I'm so happy football's starting. I'm going to make the big football announcement the second week of September. It's going to blow you away, TJ. That's all.
I think I know what it is, but
yeah. Well, you can take a guess, but I can't talk about it.
I'm not going to take a guess because you'll talk about it.
Anyway, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tim Tebow went in and tried out for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they released him.
Yeah, that didn't last very long.
Yeah, I used to. It was so much fun, and I met Tim a couple of times. A super nice guy, but those lobby passes he threw that just kind of seemed to float.
Yeah, he was a running quarterback, you know.
He was fun to watch. He was fun to watch. And did you hear about the Oakland A's pitcher Chris Bassett? He took a line drive hit to the face.
No.
Finally conscious. Took a line drive hit right to the face.
Oh, wow.
One of the worst things you can think about in football.
I bet you Michael Chiesa could take a line drive to the face and then choke out the pitcher.
Listen,
or the batter, rather.
Michael Chiesa announcing him. He can take a line drive. No question.
There we are.
There he is. His audio is funny.
Hey,
What's up?
what's up? We've got the man, Michael Chiesa. How was jiu-jitsu? I was telling everybody you were training, buddy.
It was good, man. It was good. You know, I took a week off after the fight, just kind of, lift some weights and stuff in the garage to just put my mind at ease. And this week, getting back on the mat, it feels good. Just, win or lose, you got to have a short-term memory and put it behind you and do everything you can to kind of correct your mistakes.
Michael, that's one thing I was going to touch on. Since you just brought it up, I'll go right into it if I could. You're a winner. I consider you a winner. You have a winning personality. You move forward. You're positive. You see yourself with the belt around your waist, which I believe you're going to go for, most definitely. In the after interview of your fight, you mentioned some not mental like mental, but I mean just mind thing you dealt with. Can you just express that to us a little bit? Because we always talk on the show, and me knowing fighters and having fought myself too, it's like the mental aspect of this game is tremendous. Okay. So what was it for you in that fight looking back with Vincent?
Well, I'll be, Bruce, I'll just be completely honest with you. I just have had this issue throughout my career where I've gotten to the big fight. Every fight's a big fight, but just every time I've gotten to that big fight, something's just happened to me mentally. And it's something that I got to correct. I don't know if it's because I get to that, when I get to the big fight, like, when I was preparing for, Tony Ferguson and got injured, and when, the Kevin Lee fight, and then now Vicente Luque, I mean, all of those fights, the things that came after for the winner was the title. I mean, nothing's guaranteed to Vicente yet, but I mean, I can pretty much guarantee next in line for a title or a really big fight. But I get to that fight that I know is the one that's going to take me to the next level. And I think I just start to overthink things. And, fighting is it's a very mentally straining sport enough as it is. And I just think it's when I get to that big fight, I've just had problems putting too much pressure on myself to perform. And all those fights just haven't gone my way. So I don't feel like, that it was a good fight. There was good back and forth action, and now I know what I got to do to correct that mistake. And I just don't think it's going to happen again. And I do believe that, whatever my next fight is, I do believe it's going to be a big one, and it's going to get me right back in the mix. So I'll get past this for sure.
I absolutely believe you will. And you know what, Michael, thank you for your honesty. That's a big thing to do that. And it makes you a bigger man to do that. And I want to put my name in the hat to be your muse. So let's say before a fight, you need to talk about things. You need to get on a mental thing. Give Uncle Bruce a call. I'll help you get through that mental aspect of the fight.
I would love that. I love that. Uncle Bruce, always there for his boys.
Always there. Always there. And speaking of which, I get asked all the time the greatest announcements and this, and there's been so many, and there's so many I can talk about, but announcing you has become a very, very special thing in my life. And, I've got TJ and Dan Hardy and all, but you're right there, if not right up there, is like the greatest announcement of all time. The way you react, the way you pull me in when I'm talking, and you threw me off a little bit. I'm so sorry. It's Spokane Valley, California, Washington. Pardon me for that.
No.
Hey, for the record, I didn't even notice. Like, it was like a couple days later that I saw something online. It's like, did you see Buffer's mistake? I was like, no.
Hey, we know now that the next one's going to be absolutely perfect. I mean, if it wasn't for that one thing, it was a 9 on both our parts. It was a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Next time it's going to be a 10 out of 10. Picture perfect shut up. But dude, I tell you all the time, Bruce, and I tell all these people where the significance of Bruce Buffer. I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you guys, but the significance of Bruce Buffer's presence and his voice to a guy that's aspiring to get into the sport and get into the UFC. It's a part of like every young fighter's manifestation. It's like you want to be in the octagon and you want Bruce Buffer to announce your name. It's like you hear that time and time again. So it's just like there's nothing about this sport or getting in a fight in the UFC that has ever I've gotten settled in with. It's always something new to me. So it's like every time I get that opportunity to Bruce call my name, each time it's like I'm getting more and more into it. I'm not getting comfortable with it or used to it because it's still something so precious to me, but it's still every time I just get more and more pumped up about it.
Thank you, Michael, because it's very precious to me too, my friend. And thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
I got to say too, my book, I wrote my biography. I don't know if you read it, but about 8 years ago, and when it came out right after you were in The Ultimate Fighter. Okay. And, best wishes and everything for your father. Right.
Yeah.
And the moment when you talked about that, I wrote about that in my book. I only wrote about like 8 fighters in my book, and you were the newest fighter in the book I wrote about. And I wrote about your instance then. And I guess something special was brewing even back then, Michael. You're a special fighter. You're a special person. You're a cool dude. And I guess maybe it's just in the future that we should have these great introductions. But I can't wait to have one of those when I'm the challenger for the friggin' belt, man. I can't wait to say challenger. That's going to be awesome.
It's going to happen.
Michael's. I was just gonna say, Michael, you're a guy that's very relatable for fans. Like watching your whole situation in The Ultimate Fighter and just the atmosphere of that show. I was at the Pearl at the Palms when you fought Ally Quinta. Like, I very rarely cheer for fighters. Generally, my interest in cheering for fighters if they speak English or not because I want to do an interview. You know what I mean? So, but you and everything that you went through, man. Like, I wasn't standing up and cheering inside that venue that night, but it was something that. Like I felt like a lot of people were with you, and I think those people that experienced that have followed you, like Bruce said, because it was a moment that everyone could relate to, and I think that you have fans because of that still to this day.
Yeah, people's fun.
It's something that I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, but I mean, I hate saying this, but if the reality is, if that night was my world title fight, then my career could end now and I would still be very happy with myself. Would there be a slight moment of disappointment of not getting to the ultimate goal, especially when I'm this close? Yeah, for sure. But if that was my title fight, I guarantee you, if things go my way and I win a world title, I think that there's a good chance I'll look back on that night at the Palms as being the best night of my career, no matter what. And it's an honor to be a man of the fans. I feel like I got away from that a little bit. I was trying to kind of be a knucklehead and hype fights and talk trash. And that's not true to myself and not true to the people that have supported me since June 1st, 2012. So, wild ride for sure. It was a wild one.
You mentioned talking trash. You're a class act, Michael. And I think talking trash can be done in a classy way. It can be done in a trashy way. And I don't think you need to go there. I think you handle yourself fine. Not fine. I think you handle yourself very well. I love the fact that you're thinking beyond your guns and doing your commentating now, sitting at the desk, preparing for your future when you hang up your guns, whenever that might be. You got years to go yet. So
he's amazing, by the way. I want to say that as a play-by-play guy. Like, I want to work with Michael Chiesa one day.
You probably will.
I would love to. Hey, and the trick is, man, for one, this is the thing, man. You hear a lot of these guys, especially at a high level in this sport, say they don't watch fighting. They're like, I don't watch fighting unless it's one of my teammates.
That's crazy.
It is crazy to me. It's like to me, it's like, don't you want to see the sport evolve and like see what the next thing is? And so many things slip through the cracks. And I might not be like Gravica Hitman and those guys where I'm watching every single show. You know what I mean? Like every single Young Eagles, ACA, or all these other shows. But I pay close attention to a lot of mixed martial arts, and it's just like, dude, why would you not try to cash in? Like for me, I look at it like this. I quit college, I quit life, I put everything into this sport. Like I might as well try to make the most of it as I can, especially if I don't just have a passion for being a fighter. I'm a fan first, to be honest with you. Like I was a fan for years before I ever trained. I used to sit on Sheerdog and look at everybody's records and go to the forums and hit the refresher on the New Year's Eve shows because I couldn't buy the pay-per-views for Pride and stuff like that. Like I was a fan first. So I enjoy being able to do every single possible thing I can with the sport. It's not just about the money; it's about the experience. Like, I love being able to help tell I always say, like, the work in the desk is like the prologue before you tell the story. You know, the fights tell the story. I like being a part of the prologue to kind of build up some of these fights, and someday hopefully I can be a narrator alongside John Anik and Joe Rogan and Paul Felder and those guys. But I'm enjoying it, man. I'm glad that I get positive feedback from my peers. It means a lot to me.
Well, I think you're on your way, because what you're talking about is you're spelling out a word. It's called passion, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell everybody, if you can find out what you're passionate about and you can monetize it, then you're living a lifestyle. You're not going to work, right?
Yep.
You're living a lifestyle. Keep that passion flowing. And of course, and I got to say it, about the puncher's chance.
You almost dropped that bottle right there, Buffer. I saw it. I saw that save.
I almost dropped it. I sent a bottle to Michael, by the way, TJ.
Nice.
I don't know if you had it yet.
You know what? Tonight I'm going to hit a shot, and I'm going to give you my feedback. I'm going to take a video. I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to give you some feedback on it, Bruce.
Totally honest. I don't want to, screw up your thought process with the fact that we won 3 gold medals for the finest tasting bourbon in America, the finest design of the bottle. I just had to throw that out there a little bit, okay?
I love it. And we still got to talk about millions, Bruce. I see your shirt. Hasn't slipped my mind. We need to have a conversation about the boys over a million. So,
well, my co-founder partner Brandon, that I set you up with, had that meeting, because this thing has taken off like there's no tomorrow. It got so big so fast. My partners previously sold 2 companies like this for over $100 million to this company called Volition.
Wow.
They believe in millions so much that they just gave them $27 million in VC seed money to build the company with.
Now that's millions.
That's how fast. They just millions.
Got millions. That's millions on millions.
Yeah.
And they're so fast, Michael. This is why I want you to be involved for one key reason. Let's say you have a great fight night, which you will and have, and a t-shirt like a Song Yadong, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to have a t-shirt ready for him for millions that night of the fight. And would they ship it to China? Well, we ship all over the world. They had the t-shirt ready the next day for sale after his fight. Okay.
That's like Super Bowl champion stuff right there.
Exactly. That's how fast.
That's a fast turnaround. Jesus.
Fast turnaround. So if you still have that text line, or I'll do it again for you, I'll reintroduce you to Brandon. But take that meeting, Michael. It follows with everything you're doing. And I don't want to show too much, but just I think you're perfect for it.
Yes, sir. Will do, Bruce. Uncle Bruce, helping out the boys as always.
Always helping out the boys. I know you want. I want you to make the $1 million. You know me. I want you to make $1 million every time you walk in the octagon or whatever they're paying you. I want it to be as much as possible, but I just don't want you to look forward to your fight night ticket. I want you to be making money all the time, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the name of the game. It's called cash flow. Cash flow is king, baby. Cash flow is king.
That's right.
So, Michael, we've got the future here. A typical question from everybody who interviews you after a fight. Where do you see next? Like, what do you think would be the best fight for you next? And has the UFC even contacted you yet about anything?
My agent reached out to me and was just kind of like, hey, I don't want to see you marinate on this loss too long. And I'm like, I don't either. I like the December timeline. It gives me time to do a few death shows, do a little commentary for LFA. I got my teammate Brady fighting next week in the Ultimate Fighter finale. And also, I just a little bit of me time. I spent a lot of time in Las Vegas this camp. So I think December fits the timeline. In terms of opponents, man, I honestly think I don't really want to – I want to stay right in the thick of things. I think that a fight with Wonder Boy makes a lot of sense. He's a super class act. He's ultra tough. Could be an even tougher matchup for me than Vicente Luque, but I'm right on the brink of getting – back in the top 5, and so I got to take those fights that are going to get me right there. So I think that's a fight that makes sense. We'll see what happens. You never know. But just anybody within that realm of the top 5, I think that's where I need to be.
This is
awesome.
This is the thing that I feel about mixed martial arts, and what makes mixed martial arts so great is when you lose in MMA. honestly, it's not that big of a deal. And this was a loss where, you know, I said before you came on, Michael, that this was the Czech Congo and Pat Barry fight with submissions. You know what I mean? Because it looked like you had him, and then he caught you. Obviously, Vicente moves up. To me, maybe you don't have a number 5 or higher next to your name, but you're still top 5. Your next fight should be against a top 5 contender. And again, you take a step back, but your next fight's not going to be any easier. And that's what I love about MMA, because you're still very much, like you said, in the thick of things. And, you know, maybe one or only, maybe only one more win, and you could be fighting for a title. You don't know. That's how MMA works. And that's why it's so great. And, you know, the king of combat sports, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's going to be good to see how things shake out. You know, you got Kamaru fighting Covington. You know, Leon's waiting in the wings. You know, who knows what they're going to do with Gilbert? Maybe Masvidal. Who knows? You know, there's a lot of there's things that are moving around within the division. But yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's like I feel like if I can get the right fight and I can go out and have a good performance, I think that it could propel me right into a title fight. You know, and I heard a lot of things, a lot of rumblings that. You know, there were talks if I beat Vicente that I was going to be the number 1 contender. Maybe those were things that got in my head, but it's like if that was being considered before the fight, you know, I'm right on the brink. And I had heard that Dana was really happy with the fight and was basically like, hey, get him whatever fight he wants, get him that fight. You know, so I'm glad that the boss was happy, the fans were happy, my peers were happy, and I'm healthy. You know, most guys that Vicente Luque beat. I'd be still looking like Mr. Potato Head. So
I have a funny feeling. I have a very funny feeling that you're going to face Vincent Luque again.
Yeah,
well, there's no doubt.
And he's a class act. We had a fun fight, and I think that him and I, you know, this isn't me saying something to like, you know, devalue his win. It's nothing like that. But I just think that him and I, even though we're contrast in styles, I think that him and I are like a coin flip fight. I think him and I are like, you run that fight over 10 times, you know, it's like he beats me 6, I beat him 4, maybe we go 5-5. You know, I think that we're very evenly matched.
Yep, agreed. Absolutely agreed. With the situation coming up and all this, you know, there's a lot of things happening around in the news. I wanted to tell you guys one thing. Did you hear about Brendan Schaub saving 3 children involved in a fatal car wreck?
No, I did not.
Yeah. I did not. Wow. That's crazy.
Let's give a little credit to Brendan here, you know, and Brendan, for those that know or don't know Brendan, I mean, obviously a very successful comedian what would we say, TJ? Is he a commentator or interviewer or what?
I would say he's a personality more than anything, because he's not a commentator. I don't necessarily feel like he's an analyst per se. He does analyze the sport, but it's in a manner where it's a lot less informal than, say, what Michael does. Not to devalue what he does, but it's in a different sort of vein. It's not the same.
Well, give him some credit here. I remember reading a story about this about Tom Cruise, and of course other people have done this too, but he was driving down the highway to a restaurant with his girlfriend on August 12th, right around 7 p.m. and he saw an 18-wheeler and a mangled 2003 Lincoln that were involved in a serious accident. There was a child sitting on top of the vehicle screaming for assistance, right?
Wow.
Nobody was around. He pulled over, immediately sprang into action, rushed to the car to help. He saw a shoeless man run from another smashed car across the highway, who was again hit by another vehicle, leaving him stunned on the ground. This is like
my God,
crazy thing going on. Wow. But he went ahead and busted out the window and removed the kids from the car. He said the big rig's gas tank was punctured, spilling gasoline all over the road. We know what could happen from that. The mother of the kids was sitting in the front seat. She was dead before he arrived. But he made sure that her children did not see the traumatic scene and got them to leave the car. Kudos to Brendan Schaub, right?
In a world full of bad news, that's the type of stuff we need to hear. I mean, may these children's mother rest in peace, but I mean, in a world full of COVID and wars and things like that, those are the types of things I like to hear. You know, good on Brendan Schaub, man. Good on Brendan Schaub.
Crazy you mentioned all that, because that's all we talked about before he came on was COVID and Afghanistan. And I was searching for good news to find.
You're the bright spot of our day, Michael. You don't understand.
Yeah, we're definitely going to end up with Michael
Chiesa. That's an honor. I've been staying away from the TV as much as I can. It's a crazy. It's like an ever evolving, you know, train wreck going on right now. It's just like it's not one thing; it's another. You know.
I know
it's crazy.
I only watch fights now at this point. Like I'm just tuned into Fight Pass 100% of the time.
It's not a bad move.
Not a bad move at all. Michael, what do you do in your off time? What is your aside from fighting and training? I mean, Michael Chiesa, what does he do? What makes him think? Tell me. What do you enjoy? What's your hobbies?
Well, if
aside from beautiful women, what do you enjoy?
aside from beautiful women and partying, I really love snowboarding, man. When it's winter outside, I don't live by the ocean, so I say that this is like snowboarding to me is like surfing if you live in California. So I spend a lot of time on the mountain, and then in the summer, man, I just really like to I own some property out in Washington, and I live in a log house, so there's always work to be done. So I just like to work around the house, do projects, and every end of the summer for us is usually like the one time of the year where I get to just not be the fighter, when I just got to step away from who I am. I go to Dave Matthews at the Gorge for 3 days, 3 straight days at Dave Matthews with me and my fiance and our friends, and just have a good moment to just kind of cut loose and, love each other and stuff like that. So I just really, man, my hobbies are just soaking life up. I don't have children. I don't have, all I have is my fiance, my 2 dogs, and my fighting career. And outside of that, man, I just like to soak it all in and just live my life.
Are you sure that property's not in California?
You had to say it.
Sorry, I had to.
I deserve it. And I hope your fiance doesn't get mad at me when I said beautiful women, because I have met her.
No, she knows, Bruce. She knows. She was my best friend for 5 years before we ever got engaged. And to be quite honest with you, she helped me pull a lot of ass. So it's like, she knows.
That's the best story ever.
Yeah, so that's also what makes our relationship function so well. Is she's like, you start dating a chick and they find out how big of a player you used to be, and they just, she's like, if a girl goes and says something to her, she's like, cool, tell me something I don't know. I've seen it all. I've been there. I was in the trenches with him, so.
You have to marry this woman, Michael. My God.
Oh, yeah. She's so great.
I come from a bit of the same school, and when I've been serious with a girlfriend, and the fun past that I've had myself, it's like, I want them just to appreciate, I'm with you. Okay. Be happy I went through all that. Okay. Cause I'm not going to be 10 years from now saying I didn't go through that and I need to go through that now. No, I've got you. I've got you. That's the key. Right.
100%. She has a lot of confidence in me too. Like, when I'm at home, I'm never out doing stuff where she's like wondering where I am. I don't leave her. She has full confidence and trust in me. And there's never any point where like, where the trust would ever be breached. Like if I was like, out on the road or I'm doing my commentary stuff, I would suck at it if I was out partying and screwing around. But the fact of the matter is I go work, I go back to my hotel, I relax, so it's like, I found the winner. So I'd be a dumbass to fuck this thing up.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Very warranted use of the word. I love it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like Paulo Costa and drink a bunch of wine before your fight. Let's just put on that analogy.
No. And the cool thing too is she's a huge fan of the sport. Like she actually the first time I met her was actually at my Tough finale. Speaking of that, I was dating her friend, and she came down to watch. And so that was when I first met my fiance. I was actually dating her friend. They came to watch the finale. So
that's cool.
So she's a huge fan of the sport. It makes it easy. Like we sit together and watch fights. Like I don't study my fights by myself. I'm not like having to go down in the basement because she wants to watch HGTV. She's like, if I got to study fights, she's like, oh, cool. What are we watching? Like she's into the sport as much as I am, so it's like every weekend, if we're at a family function, we're the couple that's huddled over a phone in the corner watching ESPN Plus because we don't ever miss the fights, so it's like that makes it help a lot. Cause a lot of women, they want to be first, but she understands that fighting comes first, but we also share that passion together.
That's important. So for my wife and I, we've been together now for 16 years, and we first got together on our first dates. We're watching the first season of The Ultimate Fighter on Monday nights. And because of that, she lets me do my job and travel all over the place because she gets it. But man, like that goes to sort of further prove what we were talking about earlier, Michael. Like mixed martial arts, it's a lifestyle. Like you kind of have to be all in on it, whether you're a fan, like the Grabaka Hitman, who you're giving shout outs here, or fighters, or people like Bruce, myself, people that are just immersed in this thing.
Hey, listen, I have a very special friend for years now. One of the things we love to do when I get back after a good show is that she wants to see the show, and I have no problem because, of course, I want to watch the show again. It's a great night when you got somebody you can share a night with that loves what we do, and is into it and can name the names, name the moves, and even perform the moves. It's awesome. Does she train? your lady?
No, she doesn't. She's on the fence. You know, she's like, there's some days she wants to try it. There's some days she doesn't. But I mean, dude, she's super athletic. Like we have a pretty sweet home gym. I put a bunch of money into. So she's out there working out once or twice a day. She's super fit. She's super strong. I'm like, you would be surprised if you get in there and train with these girls. I mean, she watches the sport enough, and you know, she's got cardinal knowledge of what goes on. So it's like, I think she'd do pretty well, but I don't, it's best to not like try to push them towards it. You just kind of, you know, dangle it in their face a little bit until they decide to just try it. I think if I bought her like a really cool looking gi, I think she's like, oh my God, that's cool looking. I got to wear it. I'm like, well, there's only one place you can wear it. You can't really trot around the house in a karate suit. You got to go to the gym. So maybe I'll do that.
Get her a Jean LaBelle pink gi. Maybe she'll like that. But besides that, she gets to roll with you multiple times a week. So I'm sure she's getting some kind of training.
Absolutely. Shout out to Judo Jean. I have a funny story about Judo Jean LaBelle. When Ronda Rousey fought Sarah McMahon, my buddy Michael Mardonis, people know him as Lazy the Savage, I went and met up with him, and I went and hung out with them at weigh-in. So I was with Ronda, Edmund, Judo Jean was there, just their whole little posse. And so I had to go up and introduce myself. Like, Judo Jean, like, you're a legend. You know, I'm just like in awe. Like, this guy, it's like larger than life, and just the sweetest, nice soul, man. Still has a strong grip, but he pulled out a wad of patches out of his pocket. Like, he walks around with Judo Jean patches, and he gave me a Judo Jean patch. And I have like a trunk in my house where I keep like very special keepsakes, like from my dad and my grandpa and stuff like that. And that Judo Jean patch has made it into that trunk because I'm like, this thing is worth, like, to some people, that's just a patch. But to people like us, like, dude, to get a patch from Judo Jean, like, God dang.
That's amazing.
Don't let anything happen to that. So that was a very special moment. Shout out to Lazy the Savage for making it happen.
Props for you, or props to you, Michael, for going up to Gene, because you mentioned Ronda, Edmund, even Lazy in his own sort of way. Like, that's an intimidating crew. When they come in the room, it's like, man, like, I know those people, but I don't know if I really want to go up and say hi.
Let me tell you something.
You know, I'm not afraid to fanboy. that's just me, you know. But, like, you know, I had met Ronda prior, before she became Ronda Rousey. So, like, She was super nice. And I was surprised because she's like on weight. So I definitely was like, hey, Ronda, you know, kind of like going to tread lightly. She came up and I was surprised. It's usually a weigh-in for me. I'm like, get away from me.
Right.
I'm a grouch right now. But I mean, those guys have always been, you know, you put off a good energy, man. I think that you can kind of be good in all hoods. You know, I think that for the most part, like, I'm not, you know, I'll hang out with the Diaz brothers. I'll hang out with Ronda and Edmund. I'll hang out with, you know, Gilbert Burns and Vicente. I mean, we all fight. We couldn't. I probably hugged Gilbert Burns 20 times. You know?
Why not? Why not?
It's like, you know, like, yeah, if you put out the right energy, man, in the sport, like, you're pretty much welcomed in all circles.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. You know, you mentioned Judo Jean. He's been a buddy of mine. We played poker together numerous times. Been over each other's homes. I've danced with his wife. I've gone to parties with him. Gene and I have known each other for almost 30 years. And I get those patches in the mail. I get a patch every Christmas from Gene. He sends me every Christmas. I get an envelope with
that's amazing.
From Gene. He's a sweetheart of a guy, and his wife Midge is just amazing. So good people.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of our business. It's all, look, we're martial artists. It's all about blood, sweat, and honor and respect, right? Obviously, we know the fighters that don't go by that code. I'm not going to mention any names, but the people that do go by that code, that's what it's all about to me. And that feeds me, feeds my fire to keep going.
I always say at the end of the day, if I could just be known for two things, I'd be very happy. And that'd be just, I always work my ass off, and that, you know, I'm just an honorable guy. You know, it's like, I think I'm not asking for much. I don't want to be known as the baddest dude around or this, that. I just want to be known. I just want to have a good reputation and just be known that I had a good work ethic, you know.
Well, you've already accomplished that, Michael. Like, those boxes are checked.
Yeah.
Much respect to you, Michael. That's what makes you the stand-up guy that you are. Listen, I know you got a full day ahead of you, whatever you're going to do, whether it's going to be snowboard, work on the house, or do whatever, but just stand tall, be the man that you are. The future is so bright for you, Michael, and I'm proud to call you my friend. And I honestly love every friggin' time I get in that octagon, my office with you, and I know I'm just going to have a blast, right?
Well, December, we're going to make that magic happen again.
Sounds good. Let's make it happen.
Yes, sir.
I can't wait to see the video or pick. I hope you enjoy Puncher's Chance. And if you don't, please be honest with me, okay?
I will. I'll let you know. Thanks, TJ. It's always good to chat with you, brother.
See you, Michael.
Bye, Michael. Take care, guys. See you later.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thank you. Very cool.
There he is, Michael Chiesa.
Very cool. You know, it's just Michael Chiesa, and I'm repeating myself, but I've been in this game now for over 25 years in the octagon alone, aside from my many years before in boxing. And it's athletes and fighters or fighting athletes like Michael Chiesa that keep my passion flowing.
Oh yeah.
It makes my job worthwhile.
Yeah.
To be able to back these fine men and women that I get to meet. And for the most part, they're all fine men and women.
And that's the thing too, like you talked about when your book came out, Michael Chiesa was this young up and coming kid that we had no idea what he was going to really turn out to be inside the octagon. But it's because of men and women like Michael that this sport, no matter how far we get removed from whenever we entered and you know, the stars of yesteryear, the stories keep getting refreshed and replenished, and without people like Michael Chiesa, the sport would not be what it is today. And maybe Michael isn't the Conor McGregors of the world, but that's okay. We don't need a bunch of Conor McGregors. In fact, the sport would be terrible if everyone was a Conor McGregor. We need more people like Michael Chiesa, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have him on the show.
I like the Conor McGregor that fought in Abu Dhabi.
Well, that guy doesn't seem to be available at the moment.
It's a shame. What a role model he was in that fight. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I can't say that about the last fight. And
I can't say that we won't see that Conor McGregor again in the future, the role model. But here's the issue. Is it believable anymore? Is he pretending then, or is he pretending now?
You want me to answer that question?
Please.
I think the Conor McGregor we saw in the last fight is the Conor McGregor that's Conor McGregor, because that's the way he was previous. And I think after his loss to Dustin in the first fight, in maybe certain ways, he had to dig deep down into that street aspect of Conor McGregor and bring it back to the level he thought would work for him.
Here's the issue, though, with that, Bruce.
But it didn't work.
What I would have said prior to UFC 264 is Conor McGregor definitely gets intense and he gets in people's heads, and sometimes he does things that are less than, role model-esque.
Right.
That said, I would have also said Conor McGregor is one of the most amazing things that Conor McGregor did was lose in the way that he did. He was always gracious in defeat, always complimentary. Going back to the Nate Diaz loss, like the way that he handled himself in that moment is what solidified him as a bona fide superstar in my eyes, because he talked a whole bunch of smack. He was the notorious Conor McGregor that he normally is, pre-fight night. But when things came down and didn't shake out his way, he still found a way to make me go, you know what? I kind of like this guy. I like what he's saying. I like what he is sort of, putting off as this, role model type of figure in those moments. But now I don't know how to feel about it.
Well, let me tell you what happened after the last fight, and tell me if I said this on the show, because I do not think I did. I didn't want to reveal it. After the fight with Dustin Poirier, the second fight where Conor lost and, he broke his leg.
Yeah.
I got multiple emails from Irish fans, and a few in particular asking me not to say the Pride of Ireland ever again, introducing him.
That is saying something.
Yeah, and this is from his countrymen.
Right. Conor McGregor is the biggest Irish mixed martial artist of all time. I won't say...
One of the biggest Irish athletes of all time.
Right. I don't want to say that he's the biggest, but there's no doubt that he's the biggest mixed martial artist from Ireland.
Absolutely.
And to have people want to almost wash their hands as him as a representative of who they are and where they're from, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I don't know, again, like I kind of give Conor the benefit of the doubt to a certain extent, because this is a showman type of sport. You are rewarded for antics, but like, he's got a broken leg and he's calling out Daniel Cormier. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's no need for that.
I just read that yesterday, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Why do you want to fight within your own house? I just don't get it.
I mean, Daniel's one of the most likable guys in mixed martial arts and combat sports, right? Yeah,
everybody.
Now, I understand that maybe there's some animosity there, because while DC's not openly cheering for Dustin Poirier, They're both from Louisiana. There's some ties there. There's some excitement in the voice of Daniel Cormier in those moments where Dustin Poirier is doing well. There's always going to be some inherent bias when you're that close to, the origins and history of a person that is fighting and you're commentating. But at the same time, I don't really think that Conor needs to even utter the words Daniel Cormier, because what do you do? It doesn't make sense. I mean, it gets clickbaity websites material, and
that's fine, but it's just the personal digs and all, or just if
I don't get it.
Say about somebody, don't say anything. You know?
I mean, I just don't get it. I don't have a problem with him voicing his frustration or whatever he wants to voice, but like in the manner that he's done it, I just don't see what the point is.
Well, he's staying relevant.
He's always going to be relevant.
I know, but you can pick and choose your relevancy in what you say. But
if Conor McGregor farts on a hot microphone, someone's going to make a story about it.
Yep. That's all I can say. So you know what? You got your business, you got your brand, you're making all the money you're making.
Don't take the low hanging fruit, though.
Yeah, don't take the long hanging fruit. Stand up. I'm just going to say it again. Role model.
Yeah.
My listeners, our listeners can criticize me all they want. That's the code I live by. So just like if he talks and that's the code he lives by, well, I'm talking because this is the code that I live by. So don't question my code, right? Or go ahead and question it all you want. I don't care.
Buff life.
Exactly. All right, TJ, time to sign off. What's up in the world?
Check out Extra Rounds, courtesy of UFC Fight Pass. You can watch it live, usually Wednesdays at 5 on the UFC Fight Pass Facebook page. This week we're live Thursday at 5, previewing the card upcoming this weekend. And then you can check out the archive anytime, wherever you podcast, whether it be iTunes, Google, Spotify, Audible, etc. Just search for UFC Fight Pass and Extra Rounds.
Fantastic. And for myself, everybody, if you're in the UK, the It's Time energy drink is going to be released in the next couple of weeks in about 3,000 convenience stores throughout the UK. I'll make a formal announcement about that. It'll be in America in October, in pretty much everywhere. So
Cherry limeade, Buff. I need that flavor. Cherry limeade. Let's go.
We have four more coming out. I'm working on it. I told you I would definitely throw that in the mix. And again, thank you, everybody. I've had a record month on cameos, the cameo video orders coming in, the orders for your videos.
Oh, I got an order.
Oh, yay.
I missed it.
What? You missed it?
I missed it. Yeah. I didn't have the app installed on my phone.
You didn't. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know, Bruce. I didn't have the app installed on my phone.
Your phone?
Again, I need to be better. Like I said, I wasn't taking it very serious. But now that I had an order and I apologized, time to get serious. So, request a cameo. I'll say something that you want me to say for money.
Gotcha.
It's not as inspiring as yours, but what? I'm learning. Help me learn, people.
Help them learn. Just make the order.
Right.
You got it. I got it. Sorry, I just got a call here.
It's all right. It's all right.
All right. So with me, folks, I will not be at the UFC this coming weekend on the 21st. Joe Martinez has the microphone. Should be a hell of a show. Enjoy it. Watch it. I will be back on the 28th and, of course, September 4th. And then I have a huge announcement to make about the September 4th weekend when it comes to the NFL. And we will wait for that announcement when it happens. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Great to have Michael Chiesa on the show. Always great to be the show with you, TJ, my producer and partner on the show. And those of you out there, please set your goals, write them down, do everything you can to make sure you know everything about your goals. So when you set on that yellow brick road to success, you just be the best you can be, and then you're winning. And that's what we're all about on It's Time Radio, is winning. So have a great week, everybody. Please stay safe. Please practice your protocol. We are in a pandemic. It is not over, but there's no reason you can't enjoy and live life. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week on It's Time. Thank you, TJ. Buffer out.